Leone's is an Italian restaurant located in Montclair, New Jersey, and the focus of Season 5, Episode 2 of Kitchen Nightmares, a reality show where a celebrity chef tries to save failing restaurants. The owners are Rose Leone and her son Michael. It opened in 1996, and according to the owners, it used to be very successful. But unfortunately, Michael's mom, Rose, fell into a coma for 2 years before eventually coming out of it. During that time, Michael had to take over for her, and it seems like he really let standards slip. This episode was really memorable because there's very little yelling and arguing back, but the state of the kitchen and the owner's apathy were really bad, and they also did a revisited episode, and it kind of goes off the rails a little bit, but we'll get to that later. Gordon shows up to the restaurant, and the first thing he notices is that Michael, one of the owners, is sitting right in the reception area with a little table and a tiny TV on it watching sports games. He greets Michael and asks him what's going on with the TV. He responds, "That's my old television that I watch all the games on," which doesn't really answer the question. Gordon is dumbfounded that he would be sitting down watching TV right in the entrance of the restaurant, so the customers see him immediately when they come in. He even has Michael walk in while he watches TV to see how bad it looks. Next, he points out the really ugly decor. There's a bunch of ugly paintings of babies on the walls for some reason. The fuck? Gordon then introduces himself to Rose Leone, and when asked what's wrong with the restaurant, she says, "Everything." Yikes. Next, he gets all the staff together to try and figure out what's going wrong, and very quickly it becomes clear that the staff thinks that Michael is the problem with the restaurant. One employee, Trudy, speaks up and says that there's no leadership in the restaurant. Michael protests and awkwardly tries to argue that it must be the decor that's tanking the business, a theory that Trudy quickly shuts down. Trudy says that she does everything from payroll to ordering to the menus, and that the staff is running the restaurant. Gordon asks Michael, "Is that right?" And Michael sheepishly nods yes. Gordon asks Michael what happens if Trudy gets sick, and Michael says he doesn't know. Trudy then turns around and asks, "Do you want it?" And he nods yes, but Gordon says, "You don't, do you?" Michael says, "Yes, I do." Gordon says, "Are you incapable?" And Michael responds, "I think I am capable." Gordon asks, "So why haven't you done it?" Michael answers, "When I see the business not busy, it's hard for me to really show passion." Gordon asks, "Have you ever had the passion?" And Michael says, "Yes, I've had the passion in the past." Trudy cuts in and says, "I don't think he ever had the passion." Gordon says, "Wow, is that true?" Michael responds, "I don't think so, chef." Michael's mom then cuts in and says that Michael is lazy and that it takes effort and dedication to run a restaurant. Michael then says in a really annoyed tone, "I think the bottom line, chef, is everyone can do more. I think the servers can do more, I think the busboys can do more, and the chefs can do more." Gordon then starts grilling Michael on how many hours he works, and he reveals that he only works around 5 hours a day, and out of those 5 hours, he's sitting down for 3 of them. It's also revealed that the restaurant is losing around $4,000 per week. Gordon then asks the staff to make him one of everything on the menu, which might not sound all that difficult, except that they have over 100 items on their menu. Why do these restaurants always have so many items on their menu? Do customers come in and say, "This place only has 25 terrible items on their menu. If they had 100 terrible items on their menu, then I would consider coming back, but 25? No way." The first thing that Gordon points out about the food is that one of the pizzas is burnt. He asks if that's normal, and Michael says, "The oven gets very hot, so..." And Gordon makes this face without saying anything. He then starts trying all the dishes, and his criticisms can be grouped into 2 categories, either bland or drenched in a very strong flavor like garlic or vinegar. He tries the oysters and says they stink and that they're full of grit, and Michael admits that he doesn't even know how to wash them properly. He tries the calamari arrabbiata and immediately starts coughing as he struggles to explain that the chilies and garlic is too much. I can't taste this through the video, but it does look a lot like motor oil, doesn't it? He tries the chicken, which also looks like a motor oil reduction sauce, and says it should come with a fucking warning. That'll blow your lungs out. He tries the rest of the dishes and doesn't seem to like any of them. Michael says in a cutaway, "My food, even though I think it needs help, it's definitely not that bad. I eat it myself. It's not as bad as the chef said." And next is the part of the show where Gordon watches a typical dinner service. While the service is going on, Gordon starts going through their kitchen, and it's pretty bad. He sees them microwaving food, finds raw meat next to cooked meat, old mystery meat frozen to a pan with no date on it, molasses that's several months out of date, sauce that's gone bad, and fish that's gone bad. In my opinion, Michael's attitude since the start of the episode has been that the issues with the restaurant are somebody else's problem. He constantly avoids admitting that he did anything wrong and finds somebody else else to blame. In a cutaway, he says, "The cooks are to blame for their part. They make a mistake, I can live with that, but something by being irresponsible and neglectful, there's no excuse." It's a little bit tone deaf given the fact that they're going through his restaurant. At one point, Gordon pulls out a sauce that had gone bad, and Michael says to his chef, "That's your sauce, Daryl." He seems to be incapable of taking responsibility and instead deflects it to anybody else. After seeing the horrible state of the kitchen, Gordon makes the wise decision to shut the whole service down. After the customers are gone, all the staff gets together in the dining room. Gordon turns to Michael and says, "That's the most badly practiced kitchen I've ever seen." And Michael says, "That's why we need you, chef." Gordon says, "No, Michael, you let it happen on a daily basis. You need to run your business." Michael tries to say that he does care, but every single employee there admits that he is lazy. And with that, Gordon leaves and the staff starts cleaning the kitchen and getting rid of all the bad food. Next, Gordon takes the staff to an art gallery nearby to show them pictures of their food compared to the food of other local restaurants, which looks much better. He then decides to teach Michael how to cook some dishes to try and help him get involved in the restaurant. To his credit, Michael does seem to be paying attention to Gordon's instructions and is even asking some questions, which indicates that he's actually trying to learn. Everyone tries the food that Michael made, and they say it's really good. But next, it's time for the restaurant redesign part of the episode. The new restaurant is revealed, and everybody seems to really love it. They got rid of the ugly wall art and gave everything a white and red color scheme. Everything looks way more modern and less cluttered. And they also got a POS system to make taking orders much easier. They also revealed the new menu, and everyone really likes it. And next is the relaunch service. Overall, the relaunch service goes pretty well. The dishes seem to come out correctly and relatively quickly. There was one minor issue when a dish was sent twice, but overall, Michael did a good job expediting and everything ran pretty smoothly. After the service is over, Gordon gets everyone together for an end-of-episode pep talk. He gives Michael praise for stepping up and doing a good job, but he warns him that he has to keep doing a good job even after he's gone. At the very end, the narrator says that a few days after Gordon left, Michael is still working hard, running things, and that Leone's is doing well. And Kitchen Nightmares also did a revisited episode featuring Leone's, and it gets kind of awkward at one point. Gordon shows up to the restaurant for the second time and is greeted by Michael, who has a big smile on his face and isn't sitting down watching sports games. Michael claims that business is up 40% and that he's now working hard, buying his own ingredients, and coming up with his own recipes. He's in really good spirits and everything seems to be going well. Gordon then sits down to try the food, and while he waits, he decides to catch up with John, one of the servers from the episode. Gordon asks John if Michael is really working hard and doing all the things he told Gordon he was doing. John smirks and says that Michael actually doesn't show up until 5:30 or 6 o'clock, and Gordon isn't happy to hear that. Then Trudy, the person who was having to do everything in the original episode, joins them. Gordon asks Trudy when does Michael show up, and Trudy says it's actually 6 or 6:30, and then adds that's a plus for him. Trudy goes on to say that Michael isn't doing payroll, inventory, or anything. It's all her and the other staff. She also says, and he found TVs across the street. And Gordon says, so he goes across to the sports bar to watch TV? John adds, you can paint stripes on a horse, but that doesn't make it a zebra. Michael then comes out of the kitchen with Gordon's food and a huge smile on his face, completely unaware of the conversation that just transpired. Gordon tries the food and says that it's good, but then he tells Michael that he just got exposed by his staff. He asks him why he lied to him, and Michael says he didn't lie, which prompts Gordon to look him straight in the eye and say, listen, you're not manning up. You changed course the day I left. And we see his mom nod in agreement. He asks Michael when he comes in, and he says 4:30 to 5 o'clock, which still isn't great. You'd think if he was going to lie, he would have said earlier or something. Michael also admits that he isn't doing payroll, and he says that he's just focusing on the food and the atmosphere at the moment. Sure. Gordon gives him a lecture and tells him that he needs to show up before his staff and be a leader. And he ends by saying, I'm not impressed, Michael. And with that, he gets up and walks out the door. As Gordon is walking down the street, Michael comes outside and awkwardly runs after him. Michael apologizes and says that he needs to do better, and Gordon reiterates that he has to work harder than his staff. The two eventually part with a handshake, and that's how the episode ends. With these revisited episodes, I always get the feeling that they want to paint a positive picture as much as possible. Like they want to show that the restaurant is improved and everything is doing better, so it's pretty funny to see one where Gordon chews out the owner again. But after watching the original episode, I can't say that I'm all that surprised that Michael went back to doing what he was doing. In my humble opinion, I think Michael has no desire to run a restaurant. I think that because of his mother's unfortunate illness, he was kind of put in that situation, and maybe he felt like he couldn't say no. Or maybe he thought he could get some free money by letting his staff do all the work while he sat back and watched sports games. I'm not going to fault him for not wanting to run a restaurant. I'm not even going to fault him for wanting easy money, as long as he's paying his staff what they deserve. But I am going to draw the line at serving food that could get people sick or even kill them. If he didn't want to run the restaurant, then he should have hired someone who could do the job and make sure that everything is running smoothly and that no tainted food is being served. So the big question is, are they still open today? If I'm being honest, I don't have high hopes given how Michael came across in both of the Kitchen Nightmares episodes. He seemed to go right back to his lazy ways after Gordon left, and the staff didn't have much of anything good to say about him. So, are they still open today? Well, after doing some research, I found out that on July 27th, 2024, Leone's is open? What? Yeah, to my utter surprise, Leone's is still open as of the uploading of this video. I even found a post from only 3 months ago on r/Kitchen Nightmares where the poster says that they went there and they provided this picture. And I suspect that it's still run by Michael. There's a Facebook post from Montclair Center from 2020 that claims that Michael is still the owner, and on the Leone's Facebook page, the profile picture that's posted there is one of Gordon and Michael cooking together from the Kitchen Nightmares episode, and the picture was posted in 2022. I would assume that if a different owner had taken over, they probably wouldn't be posting pictures of the previous owner on their profile picture. So at least as of 2020 and probably 2022, Michael was still the owner. This really goes to show that you can't always easily judge if a restaurant's going to survive after Kitchen Nightmares. There have been several restaurants that I thought had a pretty good chance and they just didn't make it. It's probably partly down to the fact that there's a lot of other external factors like location and the economy that impacts a business's chance of success. One thing that has changed about the restaurant though is that in April of 2014, Rose Leone, Michael's mom, passed away according to this local news site. Who knows? Maybe his mom passing away helped motivate him to take a more active role in the restaurant. Or maybe the restaurant is just in a really good location. At the end of the Revisited episode, you can see the street right behind Leone's is under construction, and based on the research I did, it seems like there's a pretty busy downtown suburban area there with a lot of different businesses and restaurants. So maybe the restaurant did okay even without Michael doing anything. Hopefully Trudy got a raise at least. Let's take a look at something I'm really curious about, which is their menu. In the episode, they had a menu with over 100 items, which is insane. I want to know how many items do they have on their menu today. So I counted them, and including 3 sides, they have a total of 54 items on their menu, which is definitely better than 100, but damn, that still seems like quite a lot. Why not do like 15 entrees, 5 appetizers, 3 desserts, and 3 kids meals? That's only 26 things. I don't know, I guess it must be working at some level if they're still in business. But let's take a look at their Yelp page to try and find out what the general public thinks about them and their food. They have 394 reviews and 3.5 out of 5 stars, which is not great, not terrible. Looking at it another way, it's 70%. And here we can see the spread of reviews. Most of the reviews are 4 and 5 stars, but there are 62 1-star reviews. I read through a lot of them, and the thing that came up in nearly every single one was bad customer service. People accused the waiters of being rude and said that wait times were extremely long. There were a few complaints about the food, but nearly all the bad reviews mentioned the service in one way or another. And barely any of them mentioned Gordon Ramsay or Kitchen Nightmares, which is something that always makes me feel like the reviewer might have some bias after watching the episode. Here are a few of the shorter ones that I think sum up the majority of bad reviews. Food was average, however the service was horrible. Waited more than an hour for pizza. I repeat, pizza that was tasteless. Never coming here again. The service at this place is infuriating. I asked 3 separate people for a refill on my water and got it about 20 minutes later. Oh, and I was there on a late Sunday afternoon. Not exactly prime time. We had to poke and prod to get bread, and when we handed over the card with the check, the waitress couldn't remember where she put it. The real kicker here is that we gave ourselves a good amount of time to eat and get to our movie, but thanks to the lazy and unprofessional staff, we couldn't get there before the movie was sold out. Food was average. Avoid at all costs, especially if you have some place to be in the next 6 hours. Food was okay. I mean, for the price, can't really complain. But as service goes, that was terrible. Don't know how they operate like that. It seems like they either don't have enough help or their servers just suck. A couple of people did mention that the prices were relatively low for the area, so maybe that also has to do with their continued survival. Another complaint that I saw a couple of times is that when they charged people's cards, they added a gratuity automatically without letting them know beforehand, like by putting it on the check or something, which is pretty bad. But it's also important to note that there are 123 5-star reviews that say that the food was good and their server did a good job. So maybe those bad experiences were just a fluke. Either way, it looks like, at least for now, Leone's is here to stay. Either because of good management or good location or some other factor, they've somehow managed to survive up until today, which is no small feat. But that is the story of Leone's. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.